All right, let's start with a big idea. What if balance? What if it wasn't just, a feeling you have? What if it was a real measurable constant in the universe? A kind of hidden code that shapes literally everything, from how a galaxy spins to how a neuron fires in your brain. Well, today, we're going to explore a framework called the Atlas Codex, and it makes exactly that claim.
So, yeah, this theory is not messing around. It's asking a huge question. It's proposing that there's a single hidden pattern, almost like a cosmic DNA, that connects the massive scale of galaxies with, the super intricate workings of our own thoughts. So, let's dive in and see how they even begin to try and prove it. Okay, so how on earth do you even start to measure something as huge and abstract as balance? Well, the theory answer is an equation. It's called ATLS-T. And this is its big attempt to take harmony from just being a nice idea and turn it into something real, something you can actually measure.
So the first thing we really need to get our heads around is this idea of sen, or balance. And right away, the theory says, nope, this is not about standing still. Balance isn't static. It's an active state. It's this constant rhythm of adjusting and giving and taking. So think of it less like a perfectly still statue and more like a perfectly tuned engine, always in motion, always working.
All right, so the first piece of this puzzle is P, and that stands for proportion. This is all about the optimal design or the structure of a system. The marathon analogy here is great. Think of this as your ideal stride length. It's that perfect, most efficient geometric shape for your body's movement when you're running.
Next up, we've got the Greek letter kappa, and that stands for phase. So if proportion was the design of your stride, phase is all about the timing. For our marathon runner, this is their pace. It's that perfect rhythm that keeps them going without totally burning out. And the final piece is R, for resonance. This is the sustained energy that keeps the whole system stable. It's the force that prevents everything from just collapsing or falling apart. For our runner, this is their endurance. It's what actually gets them across that finish line. So there you have it. Proportion, phase, and resonance. The theory says these three things together are what create that perfect state of balance. Now, this whole equation is built on a really cool foundational idea called equal force symmetry. The theory basically says there are two big opposing forces in the universe. On one side, you have the reality field. That's all the expressive, outward energy we can actually see and measure. And on the other, you've got this black matter field, an unseen inward force that kind of contains and stabilizes everything. And, you guessed it, true balance happens only when these two forces are in a perfect tug-of-war, in perfect equilibrium. Okay, so from the cosmos, the theory zooms right into the human mind. It takes this big idea of balance and breaks our own thinking down into four primitives. Think of these as the fundamental building blocks of our thoughts. You've got the triangle for clarity and direction, the circle for connection and empathy, the square for stability and safety, and the spiral for growth and adaptation. So according to this, achieving mental balance is all about harmonizing these four core shapes inside our own heads. So if this code really exists, where's the proof? Where can we actually see it? Well, the theory claims the evidence is literally written into the fabric of our world, everywhere from the design of ancient monuments to the actual wiring of our brains. And this is where it gets really interesting. The theory points to three famous types of ancient architecture as physical proof of the balance equation. Get this. The pyramid is supposed to represent proportion, that perfect, stable design. The ziggurat, with all its steps, represents phase, a rhythmic, measured ascent. And the dome? That embodies resonance, creating this enclosed space of perfect acoustic harmony. And it doesn't just stop at general shapes. The theory zooms in on three very specific ancient sites: the Ziggurat of Ur, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and the Temple of Borobudur in Indonesia. The argument here is that these three sites form what it calls a harmonic triad. It's claiming that their physical locations on the globe and their designs actually encode a shared mathematical language. So the research behind this goes deep. It claims these sites weren't just built wherever. No, their specific latitudes on the planet show a really striking harmonic proximity, that's their term, to fundamental mathematical constants, things like phi and pi. I mean, look at this. The Ziggurat of Ur's latitude is almost a perfect match for phi times 19. The suggestion is that this was intentional, that these sites were deliberately placed within a resonant solar belt of the planet. And just like that, we scale all the way back down from the planetary to the personal.
This same idea of balancing two opposing forces is applied directly to our brains. The theory suggests our minds work in the exact same way. You have your wandering mind, what neuroscientists call the default mode network, and your focus mind, the task positive network. And mental balance, that's what happens when the noise between these two networks quiets down, and they start to sync up and work in perfect harmony. And this all leads to a really profound point. It's not just about rocks and stars. The theory suggests that the very same geometric patterns that bring stability to galaxies and ancient monuments, we can use them to build empathy, to create a balanced, resonant structure for how we connect with each other. The geometry of empathy? That's a powerful idea.
Okay, so if this universal code for balance is real, the big question is, so what? What do we actually do with it? And this is where the theory shifts gears, moving from just observing the past to actively trying to design the future. It lays out a blueprint for a more harmonious world.
At the heart of this future plan is something called the Digital Harmonic World Engine. It's a pretty wild idea. Essentially, it's a massive computer simulation, a digital twin of the entire Earth. The goal is to use all these equations we've talked about to model our global systems, everything from the climate to social structures to our economies, and figure out how to guide them toward balance instead of instability.
So think of this engine as a kind of planetary compass. Its whole purpose is to pinpoint where our global systems are going off the rails, where they're out of tune. And then it would run all these different scenarios to visualize how we could adjust the rhythms and find the best, most resonant, self-correcting path back to stability. And this vision isn't just for global systems, it drills right down to how we build our cities. The theory presents a clear choice. On one hand, you have cities as they are today, often built on extraction, competition, noise, and control. On the other hand, it proposes a new model, harmonic cities, designed from the ground up for resonance, coherence, rhythm, and flow. A city in balance with the world around it. But, and this is absolutely crucial, the framework is very clear that you cannot force harmony on people. It's not about control. It has to be chosen. So any attempt to apply these ideas has to be guided by a really strong ethical code. Everything has to be transparent and open source, people have to have the right to say no, and any new technology has to benefit both people and the planet, no exceptions.
And so that's where we're left. The Atlas Codex lays out this incredibly ambitious, elegant, and just massive vision for a world tuned to a universal rhythm. It's a beautiful idea. But the question it leaves us to ponder is this: can we really build a better world with a formula for balance? Can we actually engineer harmony? Or is it something that will always be in art, just beyond what we can ever truly measure?